In a world that is becoming more and more technologically advanced, it's no surprise that hacking has grown alongside it. From Facebook leaks that left over 500 million individuals' personal data exposed, to the PlayStation Network hack that lost the company hundreds of millions in profits, the importance of cybersecurity has never been higher. But what happens when a company is hacked that deals in monetary transactions? Well, most of the time, there are protections against them. Safe measures that protect large amounts of money from being transferred. And even if they do, they can be reverted most of the time. However, the hack of Mt. Gox, a cryptocurrency exchange from the early 2010s, was different. Much different. This is the story of Mt. Gox, one of the largest financial hacks in history. Mt. Gox was a cryptocurrency exchange that opened its doors in 2010. Its name actually came from the trading card game Magic the Gathering, as it originally stood for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange. In 2007, they opened their doors as a simple way for players of the game to trade their cards online. However, the creator of the site, Jed McCaleb, decided shortly after its release that it wasn't worth his time and moved on to new ventures. After abandoning the project for a few years, he revived it in July of 2010 after reading about Bitcoin, a new digital cryptocurrency. He knew that this currency would need a way for it to be exchanged online, and set out to accomplish that goal. In July of 2010, the company launched the service on the Mt. Gox domain, due to the fact that it wasn't being used and was a decent domain. But shortly after its launch, there was a problem. It was too successful. After receiving huge orders, he realized that he wasn't up for the job, and sold the company to Mark Karpeles, an up-and-coming programmer and Bitcoin early adopter. Fast forward a few years, and Mt. Gox had grown into the single biggest cryptocurrency exchange. At its peak in 2013, handling over 70% of Bitcoin's daily trading volume. However, disaster struck shortly thereafter. The company had been hacked, but to understand how, we have to go back. All the way back to 2011, when the company was first breached. On June 13th of 2011, Mt. Gox reported that 25,000 Bitcoins, about the equivalent of 400,000 USD at the time, had been stolen from almost 500 accounts. Then, just a couple days later, the user database of Mt. Gox was leaked online by a user named Crazel Stinger, resulting in more accounts getting hacked throughout the day. Just a few days after that, a very large influx of trades caused by the hack made the price of Bitcoin drop to 1 cent, however, only for a short time. It was later confirmed that the hacker was able to obtain the login details of a Mt. Gox auditor, which allowed for a very large ask order to be made with no price limit. Although this string of hacks didn't mean too much for Mt. Gox for their company overall, it foreshadowed the troubles that would come. It became apparent after the 2011 hack that Mt. Gox was not being run properly and professionally. In April of 2013, Mt. Gox halted all Bitcoin trading for 2 days under the notion of a market cooldown. On February 7th of 2014, Mt. Gox halted all Bitcoin withdrawals, stating that they wanted to obtain a clear technical view of the currency's processes. A couple days later, they controversially blamed the Bitcoin network itself, by stating that a bug in the software made it possible for someone to use the network to alter a transaction details and make it seem as if large transfers didn't happen. This would cause the transaction to be sent twice at the sender's cost. This is known as Bitcoin malleability. 10 days later, Mt. Gox made another press release where they stated that they were working to address security issues. Withdrawals were still halted. Just a few days after that, they gave another statement, not giving any estimated time for withdrawals to resume. The same week, a document was leaked from the company. It stated that 744,408 Bitcoins had been stolen from the company's users, along with 100,000 of the company's personal Bitcoins. This equated to around $473 million US at the time, but is equal to almost $50 billion when adjusted for the current price of Bitcoin. And with that, the nails seem to be in the coffin for Mt. Gox. Almost out of nowhere from the user's perspective, from the largest exchange to nothing in less than a month. The website would go offline soon thereafter, followed by their entire Twitter account disappearing. By February 28th, the company had filed for bankruptcy. Only 3 weeks after, the company halted all withdrawals. It was later confirmed through an investigation by Tokyo-based company Wizsec that almost all of the Bitcoin had been stolen directly out of the company's hot wallet over time since the first breach in 2011. But how exactly they were stolen is a pretty confusing story. I'd like to take a second out of this video to thank today's sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is a brand that I have personally used for quite some time, so when they reached out to me offering to sponsor the channel, it was almost a no-brainer. They were actually kind enough to send me their all-in-one performance package of 4.0, which comes with some pretty sweet items. My favorite being the Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer. The cordless razor is completely waterproof, comes with a built-in light, and features advanced skin-safe technology to reduce all the nicks and cuts. They also have nose hair trimmers, nail kits, razors, shaving gel, body wash, deodorant, and much more. For a limited time, get 20% off, free shipping, and 2 free gifts when you use code FUEL20 at checkout or by clicking the link in the description below. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring the video and making this content possible. It was later confirmed through an investigation by Tokyo-based company Wizsec that almost all of the Bitcoin had been stolen directly out of the company's hot wallet over time since the first breach in 2011. But how exactly they were stolen is a pretty confusing story. The company originally claimed, when taking down the exchange, that malleability in Bitcoin's consensus protocol allowed users to create duplicate transactions. This would result in the company losing the coins in the transaction, also known as a double spend attack. However, this would turn out not to be the full story, as the company reportedly only lost 386 Bitcoin from malleability hacks, and the way that they were able to access Mt. Gox's Bitcoin was completely different. In fact, an investigation into the malleability claims found that only 302,700 Bitcoins had ever been subject to malleability attacks total in Bitcoin's history, and that a very small portion of those were actually linked to the Mt. Gox exchange. Eventually, about 200,000 of the stolen Bitcoins were found. Strangely enough, they were found in an old digital wallet that they used in early 2011 and before, making the total amount missing 650,000 from the previous 850,000. 650,000 Bitcoins lost in an almost non-recoverable currency. With the price of Bitcoin reaching new heights, new pressure has been put on tracking down where the tens of billions of dollars went. But where could these Bitcoins possibly have ended up? And how would they be tracked down? Worth over $35 billion now, that's just about the value of Twitter, completely missing, vanishing out of thin air. So where could they have gone? Although most are in the dark about where the Bitcoins are now and who hacked into the exchange in the first place, some work has been done that led to some solid findings. Investigations have been going on since the company's downfall in 2014, and while progress has been slow, we now have some solid findings. In 2016, US authorities received a copy of the Mt. Gox database and used it in an attempt to track the stolen Bitcoins. This led them down many rabbit holes, one of which ended with Alexander Vinnik. Alexander Vinnik is a very interesting figure in the cryptocurrency community. Involved in the well-known BTC exchange, the US used the information from Mt. Gox to track down a large portion of the stolen Bitcoins to Vinnik. He received this portion of the Bitcoins in an attempt to launder them through his own crypto exchange. This was part of an even larger investigation into the BTC exchange, who was accused of drug trafficking and money laundering through their service. He was detained in July of 2017 and indicted on 21 charges, many of which were tied with Mt. Gox. From 2011 to 2014, BTC seemingly processed more than 300,000 Bitcoins associated with the theft in some way. And in late 2020, he was actually found guilty in a French court and sentenced to 5 years in prison. So, was the mysterious case of Mt. Gox finally solved? Well, even though this was a shocking revelation in the case, it still didn't leave us with all the answers. Was Vinnick actually the one that gained access to Mt. Gox and stole the coins, or was he just tasked with laundering a portion of the funds? After all, only a small fraction of the stolen coins have ever actually been recovered. However, not all hope was lost for those who had their money invested with Mt. Gox. Shortly after the hack took place, the Mt. Gox rehab plan was established in an attempt to get those who lost funds some type of compensation back. And although it took over 7 years, in November of 2021, 141,686 bitcoins were approved to be redistributed. They would go to those who are confirmed to have their bitcoins lost to the exchange hack and then voted on the rehab plan to be approved. And strangely enough, even though the 140,000 bitcoins are nowhere near the 650,000 stolen, in today's value they are equivalent to over $8 billion, which is more than 15 times what all of the bitcoins stolen were worth back in 2014, when the hack actually took place. In addition, many law firms like Russian-based ZP Legal have reached out to the Mt. Gox bankruptcy team with offers for enlisting their services in tracking down some of the stolen Bitcoin, claiming that they have been able to identify 2 Russian nationalists associated with the hacks, who have somewhere between 170,000 and 200,000 of the stolen coins. So the prospect of getting more of the lost Bitcoin back is still very real. But that is about where the trail of information ends. This case is of course still developing to this day. We are unsure exactly where the billions of missing Bitcoins are now, and exactly who was able to hack into the firm in the first place. The theories surrounding the hack don't give too much insight on what the outcome could have been as well, with the most prominent of them revolving around other individuals connected to Alexander Vinnick. However, due to the investigation still being ongoing, much of the information surrounding the current suspects is not being released. This is to keep them from avoiding the prosecutors even more. Mark Karpeles, the CEO and owner of Mt. Gox, was found guilty of illegally altering Mt. Gox's electronic records to make the company seem as if it had more cash on hand than it did. However, his sentence was reduced to a 4-year suspension if he didn't commit another criminal act within the time period. The accusations that revolved around embezzlement, Karpeles was not found guilty of. After all, he did help cooperate with the authorities quite well, which likely made his charges reduced. Negligence and poor management are cited as the reasons why the hacks went unnoticed for so long, and how they were hacked to begin with. According to those within the company, Karpeles was a very relaxed worker who overlooked and slacked off many of his important duties, like revisions to the source code, which only he could approve. This meant that security updates for the site could take up to months before being released. At the end of the day, we may never know who it was that was actually able to gain access to the Mt. Gox account and hack them, but it is something that we can and have learned from nonetheless. Today, cryptocurrency exchanges are much more secure than Mt. Gox was, and there are even more ways to keep your cryptocurrency secure. For example, using an offline crypto wallet like Ledger has become popular. An offline wallet stores your crypto in a way that makes it impossible to hack into, except by actually accessing it physically. This is referred to as a cold wallet as well, and Mt. Gox in particular is said to have lost most of their bitcoins through their hot wallets, or online ones. This is one of the strangest cases not only in cryptocurrency, but in company history as well, as it resulted in a bankrupt company paying out $9 billion to its creditors, far more than it was ever worth, due to the rise of Bitcoin's popularity and pricing. At the end of the day though, it has been a truly good lesson for other companies and investors alike, and continues to shine a light on the importance of cybersecurity in a world that is becoming ever more technologically advanced. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing or leaving a like or comment down below, as it really helps me out. You guys might have noticed that this video's topic is a little bit different than the ones I usually cover. And that is because I actually created a new channel called Market Fuel that videos like these will be more normal on. On Market Fuel, we will be taking a look at some large wins and fails in the world of business, with our first episode releasing next week about how Riot Games plans to take over the gaming industry. If that sort of content sounds interesting to you, I really appreciate you checking it out. Thanks again for making it to the end of the video, and have a good night.